He's being accused of not in a criminal.
Country songs are full of heartbreak, longing, and love gone wrong. But behind the suits and steel guitar licks were legends living wild lives the fans never saw. Long after the concerts ended, some of the country's biggest stars were chasing secret flings, breaking vows, and stirring up scandals that left more than a few reputations in pieces. This video pulls back the curtain on old country music's 20 most promiscuous men. Number 20, Johnny Paycheck. Before the scandal swallowed his name, Johnny Paycheck was a country firebrand. He was a rebel with a record deal and a middle finger aimed squarely at the system. As a member of the Grand Ole Opry and a key player in the outlaw country movement, Johnny was right there in the rooms with legends like Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, Billy Joe Shaver, Hank Williams Jr., and Willie Nelson. His breakout came with a growl and a punch. "Take this job and shove it," a working man's anthem co-written with David Allan Coe. The song hit like a bar stool thrown across a break room. It was loud, bitter, and deeply satisfying. Suddenly, Johnny was more than just a singer. He was a voice for every blue-collar soul fed up with being pushed around. But while his music climbed the charts, his life spiraled in the opposite direction. The trouble started early. Johnny joined the Navy in the 1950s, but instead of medals, he walked away with a court-martial. After assaulting a superior officer, he spent 2 years behind bars. That wasn't a footnote. It was only the beginning. By the early 1980s, his demons became headlines. In 1981, Johnny faced a disturbing accusation involving a 12-year-old girl. The claim shocked fans and infuriated the public. His bandmates told police that fame brought him trouble and that trouble often followed him into dark places. Though he was released on bond, his reputation took a hit that it would never recover from. The crowds thinned and the air around his name grew heavy. Number 19, Jerry Lee Lewis. Before the scandal, Jerry Lee Lewis was a fire at the piano bench. They called him the Keller, and not just for his stage presence. In the late 1950s, Jerry was one of the original rock rebels, bursting with a sound that made jukeboxes sweat and parents pray for their daughters. He wasn't just a singer. He was a pianist, songwriter, showman, and chaos machine. His first recordings in New Orleans at Cosmo Matassa's studio crackled with promise. Then came the early sessions at Sun Records in Memphis, where legends were born. Songs like Crazy Arms sold over 300,000 copies in the South alone, but Whole Lotta Shakin' Goin' On in 1957 blew the doors off everything. That track turned him into a household name. Then came Great Balls of Fire, Breathless, and High School Confidential. But at the peak of his fame, Jerry lit a match that nearly burned his entire legacy to the ground. In a move that stunned the world and sickened his fans, Jerry married his 13-year-old cousin, Myra Gale Brown. The moment the news broke, it was as if the music died for him overnight. Radio stations pulled his songs. Sun Records stopped pushing his records. Concert bookings disappeared. Reporters circled like vultures. Even his bandmates couldn't look him in the eye. Fans who once screamed for him now crossed the street to avoid his name. Meanwhile, Myra was the one left holding the shame. Years later, in an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Myra peeled back the layers of that dark season. "I was the bad thing in his life," she said. "It was because of our marriage that his career hit the pavement. You were judged for everything you did back then." Myra recalled being called the child bride, blamed for ruining a man's career when she herself was barely out of childhood. "I was the adult," she said, "and Jerry was the child." But how do you defend yourself when you're 13 years old? While the scandal scorched his reputation, Jerry didn't help his own cause. Substance abuse, erratic behavior, and tabloid meltdowns kept his name in the news. He became a cautionary tale. Number 18, Lefty Frizzell. Before the spotlight dimmed, Lefty Frizzell was country royalty. His drawl shaped the very soul of honky-tonk, echoing into the hearts of every kid who would grow up to wear a cowboy hat and carry a broken heart. If you lined up the greats, including George Jones, Merle Haggard, Roy Orbison, and Willie Nelson, Lefty would be standing right beside them, maybe even one step ahead. In 1982, the Country Music Hall of Fame gave him a long overdue nod, and later, he earned a spot in the Songwriters Hall of Fame too. But long before the plaques were polished, Lefty was breaking records. He was the first artist to land 4 songs simultaneously in the top 10 of the Billboard Country chart. His voice was pure gold dipped in sorrow. His lyrics were whiskey-soaked truths pulled straight from the gut. Fans wanted to be him. However, as Lefty's star climbed, his personal life began to fray at the edges. Lefty leaned heavily on the bottle like many legends before and after him. What started as the usual backstage buzz turned into a full-time crutch. Alcohol began to chip away at his health, and chronic hypertension followed close behind. Over time, his appearance changed. So did his voice. The smooth crooner fans once adored started sounding more like a shadow of himself. Then came the rumors. Whispers of infidelity grew louder, and worse, there were reports of Lefty being caught in relationships with underage fans. No matter how many hit songs you've written, these were headlines you couldn't bounce back from. On top of that, Lefty was drowning in legal trouble. Contract disputes and financial battles stacked higher than the charts he once topped. The industry that once cheered him on now kept its distance. Number 17, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson broke country music wide open. With a battered guitar and a braided grin, he became the outlaw poet of the open road, thumbing his nose at Nashville's polished rules and rewriting the genre on his own terms. By the time the 1970s rolled around, Willie had found his voice, and it was raw, rebellious, and impossible to ignore. His breakthrough came in 1973 with Shotgun Willie, an album that sounded like a man finally telling the truth. Then came Red-Headed Stranger in 1975, a masterpiece that proved less could be more. In 1978, Stardust followed, a curveball of jazz standards that turned skeptics into believers. Album by album, Willie carved out his legend. But his story isn't just about outlaw anthems and critical praise. It's also a long tale of bad habits, broken promises, and personal chaos. Willie never shied away from a good time or a bad decision. His love affair with hard drugs became as famous as his music, and he never bothered to hide it. That part, fans could live with. What stung more was the financial mess he created when he avoided paying his taxes. In the early 1990s, the IRS seized nearly everything he owned. And then there was the trail of women and children left in the wake of his tour bus. Willie had affairs, more than a few. He fathered several children, but wasn't always around to raise them. Some grew up with his voice on the radio, but no footsteps in the hallway. The public, once charmed by his outlaw swagger, started asking hard questions about the man behind the music. Still, Willie never offered up much of a defense. He just kept singing, strumming, and lighting up. Number 16, Faron Young. Faron Young's smooth tenor voice masked a temper that could ignite without warning, turning quiet nights into chaos. One moment, he was crooning love songs. The next, he hurled ashtrays across a bar. Musicians who toured with him remember ducking for cover during sudden jealous outbursts, only to watch him charm a fan minutes later with a wink and a drink like nothing had happened. He switched moods as quickly as he switched companions. Police logs from the 1970s and 1980s list repeated calls about Faron causing disturbances outside Nashville clubs and bars. Most situations were handled quietly, often ending with private apologies or discreet payouts. His fame shielded him from lasting consequences, but those close to him saw the cost. Despite his loyal audience, Faron's wife endured years of whispers about affairs and side flings. Friends blamed his behavior on loneliness, alcohol, and the boredom of life between gigs. Critics believed he sang about heartbreak so convincingly because he lived it daily. His songs were echoes of real fights, breakups, and messy reconciliations. Tour crew diaries confirm it all. Faron followed heartache like a map on the road, detouring often, rarely looking back. Number 15, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash and June Carter proved that betrayal and fame make a dangerous cocktail. Their romance lit up headlines, but behind the spotlight was a trail of broken vows and complicated pasts. While many fans blamed Johnny for the affair that shattered his first marriage, few realized June had her own tangled history. Before taking Johnny's hand, she'd already walked down the aisle twice. Her first marriage was to country crooner Carl Smith from 1952 to 56. Then came Edwin "Rip" Nix, a former football player turned police officer. They were together from 1957 to 66. When June met Johnny backstage at the Grand Ole Opry, Johnny was still married to Vivian Liberto, his high school sweetheart. They'd been together since 1954 and had 4 daughters. But fame, extended absences, and addiction had already frayed the edges of their home life. Then came June, and everything changed. What started as on-stage harmony turned into whispers behind dressing room doors. Vivian once said in a rare moment of honesty, "I should have been relentless at saving it." As relentless as June was at destroying it, I'd have given anything to hear Johnny say he was sorry, but the apology never came. In 1968, Johnny divorced Vivian and married June. Meanwhile, Vivian rebuilt her life. She married Dick Diston later that same year and stayed with him until she passed away in 2005. Number 14, Garth Brooks. At one point in Garth Brooks' story, he was accused of serious misconduct. A woman who worked as his hair and makeup stylist, identified only as Jane Rowe, filed a lawsuit in a California court alleging he raped and assaulted her in a Los Angeles hotel during a work trip in 2019. According to the allegations, the two were alone in a hotel suite. She claims he appeared naked in the doorway and forced himself on her, then expected her to do her job as if nothing had happened. Brooks denied the claims, calling them extortion, and even filed his own lawsuit in Mississippi under a pseudonym, accusing her of defamation and trying to shake him down. In December 2024, a federal judge in California denied Brooks's request to dismiss the case. The judge ruled that the matter must proceed after the related case in Mississippi plays out. Brooks pushed back hard, saying the whole thing had felt like a loaded gun pressed against his face. But for now, both sides are locked in a legal tug of war, with the public watching every move. Number 13, Hank Williams I. Hank Williams Sr. could have been the inspiration behind Your Cheatin' Heart. His marriage to Audrey was less a love story and more a long, slow bar brawl with two stubborn hearts lobbing accusations, insults, and extramarital affairs. By 1952, Hank was spiraling. His spine ached from too many pills, the Grand Ole Opry was threatening to shut its doors on him for missed shows, and the bottle was no longer a companion. In the middle of the wreckage, he found a flicker of warmth in the arms of a young dancer named Bobby Jett. 9 months later, after Hank's Cadillac swerved off a snowy West Virginia highway, Bobby gave birth to a baby girl. Her name was Kathy Louise, though the world would later know her as Jett Williams. For years, she was a hidden footnote in country music history, but Jett fought. She battled the estate, the court, and the music industry itself to earn the last name that was always hers, by blood. Eventually, a judge agreed. Meanwhile, Audrey turned her heartbreak into business savvy. She may have lost the man, but she kept a grip on the royalties. She brokered smart licensing deals and ensured Hank's legacy stayed alive. Number 12, George Jones. George Jones didn't earn the nickname No Show just for missing gigs. Tammy Wynette once said he vanished because he kept chasing temptation. Roadies tell the story of finding him riding a lawnmower down the highway, headed for a bar. Tammy had hidden the car keys to keep him home, but he wasn't just after a drink. He would meet a woman waiting backstage with bourbon and soft promises. His stormy relationship with Tammy gave the world some of country music's most emotional duets, but behind the harmonies were hospital visits, violent arguments, and painful splits. They couldn't stay away from each other, but every reunion came with fresh wounds. George's drinking didn't just affect his voice or his schedule, it shaped every corner of his personal life. He missed hundreds of shows, let down thousands of fans, and still kept finding new admirers. Bottles tipped over, the world spun. He chased the next thrill, the next whisper in the dark. Wherever George went, he left behind broken hotel lamps, contracts, and hearts. The music stayed flawless. The man behind it was chaos in cowboy boots, always on the move, always chasing something just out of reach. Number 11, Charley Pride. Charley Pride met his wife, Rosine, while playing baseball in Memphis, Tennessee. During Pride's Christmas leave from Army basic training, they married in 1956. Together, they had 2 sons, Craig and Dion, and a daughter named Angela. Over the years, their family grew to include 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. They made their home in Dallas. But in the late 1970s, Pride had an affair with a single flight attendant from Dallas. In 1979, she gave birth to a son named Tyler. In 1990, she sued Pride for child support. Pride denied he was the father at first. 2 years later, a DNA test proved Pride was indeed Tyler's dad. The court ordered Pride to pay child support until Tyler turned 18 and even changed the boy's last name to Pride. Charley Pride passed away from complications related to COVID-19 in Dallas on December 12, 2020. Tyler Pride challenged Charley's will in May 2021. He claimed he was left out to keep a Pride family secret and to protect Charley's brand and legacy. Rosine, Charley's wife and the executor of the will, didn't deny that Tyler was Charley's son. However, she said Tyler had already received enough support and recognition during Charley's life. She called the lawsuit a move for financial gain. Tyler said the lawsuit was settled in September 2022, but the terms were kept private. Number 10. Buck Owens. Buck Owens smiled wide on Hee Haw, but behind the bright lights and flashy suits was a man with a messy personal life. Off stage, Buck broke hearts almost as often as he topped charts. His bandmates joked that the curtains on the tour bus worked like revolving doors because Buck rarely spent 2 nights with the same woman. His divorce settlements hinted at more than just heartbreak. There were whispers of hidden pregnancies, quiet payouts, and a private apartment near Capitol Records, allegedly used for discreet afternoon visits. In the studio, Buck kept things professional, but insiders say he scheduled sessions around secret rendezvous. He once claimed he moved from motel to motel out of loneliness, but receipts from one Valentine's Day painted a different picture, multiple expensive gifts bought on the same day for other women. For Buck, juggling fame, fortune, and fleeting affection became a routine. Fans saw the charming host, the smooth guitarist, the country star. But behind the scenes, he was spinning plates, keeping secrets, and strumming more than strings. That signature red guitar might have been his symbol on stage, but it wasn't the only thing getting played backstage between takes. Number 9. Waylon Jennings. Waylon Jennings wore the Outlaw label with pride, and his wild streak didn't stop at the edge of the stage. While touring with Willie Nelson, Waylon once bet him to see who could charm the most fans before the tour bus left. The loser had to buy breakfast. Let's just say nobody ate pancakes very often. One time, DEA agents raided a recording studio looking for drugs, but the real surprise was 2 fans hiding in the vocal booth during a long session. Waylon's rough voice often covered that he was running on no sleep, jumping from one late-night encounter to the next. When people questioned his choices, he said, freedom didn't need an apology. His biggest weakness was his endless hunger for love and attention. Merle Haggard sang about prison bars, but commitment felt like the real trap to him. He married 6 times, but that only scratched the surface. Rumors followed him across the country, telling stories of tangled romances born on quiet night drives through the desert. Bandmates used to say Merle kept index cards with women's names, hometowns, and favorite flowers to make sure no birthday mix-ups happened. He once joked that he wrote "Mama Tried" after sneaking out of a woman's apartment at sunrise just to make it to a recording session. Fans heard pain and sorrow in his voice. They didn't always know they were listening to an honest life confession wrapped in a love song. Number 8. Porter Wagner. Porter Wagner shone on stage with his rhinestone suits and catchy tunes, but things were more complicated off stage. When he first heard Dolly Parton sing, he saw more than just a star in the making. People close to them believed his role as a mentor slipped into an obsession. Rumors swirled that he threatened Dolly if she ever tried to leave his show. Years later, letters surfaced at auction. They were filled with late-night pleas, begging Dolly not to abandon their partnership. The words and how he signed them felt less like business and more like love notes. When Dolly finally walked away, Porter's heartbreak turned into a series of brief flings with younger singers hoping to climb the ladder of fame. His bright smile on television hid a deep loneliness. Behind the scenes, Porter wasn't just searching for talent. He was trying desperately to hold on to a love that was never truly his. The man behind the glitter struggled to keep control of a world slipping through his fingers. Number 7. Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams Jr. never wanted to follow in his father's footsteps, but he inherited the same fierce hunger for rebellion and fast-moving flings. After a near-fatal fall off a mountain, many expected him to slow down and reflect. Instead, Hank turned up the volume on his wild lifestyle. He invited nurses to post-surgery jam sessions, turning what should have been quiet recovery time into lively backstage concerts. Bar owners across the South still recall having to clear separate VIP rooms to keep Hank's numerous love interests from crossing paths during his encore breaks. His rowdy, freedom-loving songs matched his life behind the scenes. His life was filled with motel keys, changing hands as often as guitar strings. His romances started fast and ended just as quickly, leaving a trail of broken hearts along the way. Hank frequently joked that the Williams family curse pushed him to sing louder, drink harder, and chase love faster than anyone else could handle. This restlessness was as much a part of him as his music, shaping a life of chaos and passion that fans admired and whispered about. Number 6. Marty Robbins. Marty Robbins loved 2 things more than music: fast cars and quiet exits. While fans waited eagerly in hotel lobbies hoping for autographs or a handshake, Marty had already slipped out the back door, often with a mystery woman quietly by his side. In interviews, he was charming, polite, and polished, the perfect gentleman. But behind the scenes, he had his own secret code. 3 taps on his guitar case meant clear the hallway immediately, allowing a special guest to leave unnoticed, away from prying eyes and flashing cameras. A Vegas casino manager once shared a memorable story about Marty hiding behind a bathroom door, softly singing lullabies to calm an angry husband pounding on the other side. Marty flirted with danger and the thrill of the chase, whether racing on the track or navigating the flashing lights of late-night adventures. His dual passions for stock car racing and romantic escapades seemed driven by the same craving for adrenaline and excitement. No matter where he was, Marty's heart raced faster whenever temptation waved a checkered flag. Number 5. Tom T. Hall. Tom T. Hall earned the nickname the Storyteller by turning everyday moments into poetry, but the wildest chapter of his life stayed off the page. His songwriting retreats at quiet cabins weren't just about music. These invite-only gatherings brought together young artists hoping to learn, and sometimes hoping for more than just mentorship. One attendee recalled finding a half-finished notebook filled with lyrics, lying beside an open bottle of whiskey and a glass marked with lipstick. A clear sign that creativity mixed with desire. Tom's soft voice and kind smile made him easy to trust. He listened so carefully that people often mistook his attention for affection. He made them feel truly seen and heard. But just when someone thought they had his heart, he'd quietly slip away. His mind was already moving on, chasing the following story to turn into a song. While his songs captured simple moments beautifully, the secrets and scattered romances of those cabin retreats revealed a more complicated side of the man known as the Storyteller. Number 4. Ray Price. Ray Price always stepped onto the stage in sharp suits, his voice smooth as velvet, captivating audiences with every note. But behind the polished performances, life was far from simple. Venue staff often whispered about the chaos that followed after the curtains closed. Ray was known to book hotel rooms side by side to keep his many companions from crossing paths. He moved between rooms and doors with the stealth of a secret agent carrying a guitar case, carefully avoiding any chance encounters. One limo driver recalled that Ray tipped him $100 for every unexpected detour. These detours often led to quiet, candlelit diners, or secluded lake docks far from the public eye. While his fellow musicians admired his professionalism and focus during sound checks, they had no idea he often slept just 2 hours after long nights filled with whirlwind encounters. Ray chased new affection with as much energy as he played his music. However, despite the chaos, he maintained a reputation for excellence on stage. Number 3. Charlie Rich. Charlie Rich shocked the world when he set a CMA envelope on fire during a live broadcast. But his most intense moments happened far from the cameras. His soft piano ballads melted hearts, yet whispers followed him from one backstage lounge to another. People said he poured cocktails with one hand while flirting with the other. During extended hotel stays, staff brought fresh buckets of ice every day. The whiskey often remained untouched, but the rooms still held the heat from nights behind locked doors. Charlie's friends said he craved newness. He chased it like he did that burning envelope, fast, reckless, and without much thought for what came next. Each farewell left someone else to clean up the emotional mess. The Silver Fox seemed to know how to spark a flame, but never how to keep it burning. His relationships flickered and passed quickly, leaving behind a trail of broken hearts and whispered regrets. Charlie Rich lived fast and left a legacy of passion wrapped in smoke and ash. Number 2. Ronnie Milsap. Ronnie Milsap's blindness never stopped him from sensing admiration. He often joked that he could hear a sigh of attraction across any hotel lobby. People on tour said his driver used a special knock to tell the difference between regular fans and private guests, hoping for something more. Sound checks weren't just about tuning instruments. Staff noticed whispers pass between verses. One Memphis concierge remembered guiding several visitors through back elevators. Each one believed she had inspired that night's encore. Ronnie always brushed off the rumors. He said music naturally brings out romance. But those close to him knew the grand piano wasn't the only thing leaving unforgettable impressions after midnight. Number 1. Freddy Fender. Freddy Fender mixed Tex-Mex flair with country soul, and his charm reached farther than any tour bus ever could. His voice carried both grit and tenderness, a rare blend that could make audiences laugh through a honky-tonk chorus and weep through a romantic ballad in Spanish. A reporter from Texas once tried to keep up with his whirlwind lifestyle by following his tour schedule and discovered something curious: duplicate dinner reservations under fake names in 2 different cities, just hours apart. His bandmates joked that Freddy had finally learned how to teleport. Still, the truth was far more grounded in the realities of fame. Private planes that cut through dawn skies, last-minute drivers waiting on dimly lit tarmacs, and phone calls made at sunrise to coordinate the next whirlwind appearance. Spanish love songs often drifted through thin motel walls as the night stretched, weaving a sense of intimacy that clung to every stop along the road. Meanwhile, managers scrambled to keep up, rushing to fill unexpected schedule gaps and working tirelessly to hide details from tabloids hungry for the next scandal. Freddy, always quick with a grin and a sharp quip, insisted that music erased borders, that melodies could speak to anyone, regardless of language. But critics sometimes countered that his music also seemed to erase curfews, permitting him to live outside the ordinary limits that constrained other artists. To them, the man behind Wasted Days and Wasted Nights didn't just sing about bending the rules, he lived them. Each performance became a declaration of freedom, a chance to rewrite the night with bilingual heartbeats, until the echoes of his songs outlasted the sunrise itself. Country music has always worn its heart on its sleeve, but as we've seen, some of the biggest stars lived even more dramatically than the ballads they sang. Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.